Hey, what's up, guys? It's Remork here again. I'm going to give you a walkthrough on Erutus Mine Elite on how the bosses work, and kind of like a mage perspective too for the dungeon. Like, what do I do, what I generally do as a mage. So the first boss here, pretty easy boss fight, nothing crazy. She's going to summon a golem right off the bat as soon as you pull her. That has no aggro table, so no one can tank her. Tank the golem, and it does moderate damage as soon as it starts out. Hits me generally for 2.5k in the beginning of the fight. Uh, this golem works as a soft enrage. Every minute, the golem is going to increase its damage by 10%. So if you take too long to kill a boss, eventually the golem is going to do a lot of damage where you can't heal through it. He also does a 3-line AoE in front of him that will one-shot you, so just be aware of that. The boss itself, she's got a couple different abilities. The first thing is lightning AoE. It does massive damage on impact, and then it also leaves a lingering damage on the ground. So watch out for that. And you saw just right there, she did it around her. Second one is also she does an AoE on a random party member. Applies a dot for 3 seconds, and that does a pretty good amount of damage too. So I would not stand in that. She also summons two skeleton ads throughout the fight. You just saw it up right there. Pretty straightforward. Just AoE them down. Nothing crazy. The mage and the berserker should be able to handle it just fine. Ranger can stay on the boss, depending on gear score and your party damage, of course. Other than that, as a mage, really, I never find her casting the AoE on range that much. It's really the melee that she likes to focus with so one is an AoE red dot right around her, and the second one is a cast on a random party member, and I rarely see it being cast on ranged. It's really most of the time on melee. If the golem is on me in the early part of the fight, I just let it hit me and dodge the AoE, right? Like when she's down like less than 50%, 30% DPS, depending on your DPS of your group, how fast you're getting there. Sometimes that golem can start hitting for 4K, 5K, and so I'm at 12.5 gear score right now, like about 12,000, uh, mid 12,000 HP. So it doesn't really affect me too much. But if you're in that 10k, 9k gear score and you only have like 10k HP, 9k HP, when that golem starts hitting hard, generally what I try to do is I go stand by the healer. I just make sure that golem is facing away from the healer so he doesn't get targeted by a 3-line AoE. But it's just a good note for that healer, right? If you're standing next to him, he's gonna be like, all right, I see this guy getting hit by the golem. Let me make sure I give him some heals and keep him up. Especially if you're in a pug group and you're not in Discord. Other than that, just DPS away as a range, pretty easy. Just use all your single target damage. And then when the skeletons are up, make sure you're using your fiery eruption into ignition into flame strike or static charge into static strike into thunder and lightning. The really fast AOE spells. You could use chilling wind, chill shot into icy wave 2 if you want to, depending on which tactics you're running and what tactics you're in at the moment. But those guys go down pretty fast, like me and the Berserker usually kill it pretty fast and just have the Rangers stay on the boss. All right, other than that, I'm just gonna let it keep run through until we get to the next event, which is second boss is not a boss fight, it's actually an event. All right. All right, what's up, guys? So we're coming up here on the second boss, or it's more like an event, really. So this is the event where a whole lot of skeletons comes out. There's 8 waves altogether, and at the final wave, the boss comes out, and the boss is pretty easy. You just gotta avoid his one star AOE. So here's the cave, right? So this is where the first and second wave spawn through. So generally, as a mage, what I want to do is as soon as that wave spawns, I want to let go of my static charge, frostbite, static charge, static strike, right into thunder and lightning, right? Because you want to do damage to them right away so that they stay there and they don't run towards the crystal, right? You want to aggro them down. Um, so generally, I like to lead out with Static Strike into Thunder and Lightning. That's from your Mixed Elemental tactic. And then you have Chilling Wind into Chill Shot into Icy Wave. That's obviously our number one AoE damaging spell. Does a lot of damage. You want to use that a lot too. And then what I use a lot too is also from the Flame tactic, because I run Flame tactic Mixed Elemental. I like to use Fire Eruption, Ignition, Flame Strike. So those are three really powerful AoEs in this fight as a mage. And then don't forget that your Magic Shot Incineration into Fiery Meteor is also an AoE. The Fiery Meteor is an AoE. And then your Kindle into Fiery Meteor Incandescence, however you pronounce that, is also an AoE. So the Fiery Meteor is an AoE. So those are the main skills that I'm using, right? And then obviously keep blinking to get your mana back. And then, when you got mobs on very low HP, like you can use your magic shot into flame shot into magic absorption and keep getting your mana back. But for the most part, those are the AoE spells you want to be using. Now, uh, like I said, I'm at 12.5k gear score. Now, when I was at like 9k gear score and it was taking a lot to get these mobs down, don't forget that you have Kindle, Area Effect, Fireball, and Ignition in your tool set. So if you're not that geared and your group's not that geared and it's not dying fast and those mobs are up for a while, use your Kindle into Area Effect, Fireball, into Ignition. And what that does is applies the burn effect. Area Effect Fireball is going to apply a burn effect to somebody, and then that Ignition is going to spread that burn effect to those AoE mobs, right? Everyone that's around that mob, so they all get that burn effect. And then if you use Kindle, Fire Meteor, into I'm sorry, if you use fire eruption into ignition into flame strike, it's gonna, take off. They're gonna do a lot more damage to targets who are burned. So that's a really good, um, what do you call, uh, skill chain right there. And then you can move into your six chain and change tactics. But other than that, just mages, you want to continuously do AoE. Just keep spamming all your AoE skills, the ones that I just mentioned. And what's really important too is when you start using Chilling Wind into Chill Shot into Icy Wave, if you'll see me, like look at how I position myself before I cast Chilling Wind. Because what Chilling Wind is going to do is it's going to push all those mobs away, right? So you don't want to cast it wherever you want to cast it, right? Position yourself so that the mobs are going to get pushed more into each other. Like so if I would go to the back of the marksmans over there and then do Chilling Wind and push them towards the group rather than just casting Chilling Wind wherever you want. So here's the boss, pretty straightforward, right? He does that one big AoE that you can even outrange. So just stay at range and DPS it down and go from there. So I'll let the rest of the fight play out on normal music.
Pudding. Hey Rom, you gonna do a how-to video in Patala as well?
Yeah.
Cool beans.
All right, so after that event, you go straight into the second boss, technically. right? So this boss has two phases. So the first phase you see is right here in human form. She does the same AoE like the first boss, except that it is interruptible. So she casts an AoE right around her feet. So melee, you gotta run out. Um, Then she also does target AoE on a random player. So this one, it does tend to go to range a lot, and the circle is a lot bigger than the first boss. So as mage, as range, just move out of it. Don't stand in that random AoE. And she casts three of those in a row. Um, After a little while, she's going to do a room-wide AoE that does moderate damage, nothing crazy, and she's going to root all the members in the party for a second. So she will then transform into a plant after the root is over, giving her a massive shield and she does double damage. So in this phase, tanks, you gotta kind of like kite a lot because you want to get her out of that um, AoE. Because what she's gonna do, she's gonna drop AoEs in this phase. That does a lingering AoE, so that works as a soft rage timer too, right? I mean, the boss is gonna rage way before the room fills up with that AoE, but still. Make sure that you're planning those AoEs in an easy spot, especially if you don't have the DPS to burn her down really fast. Um, during this phase, excuse me, she'll also spawn a balloon rune, kind of like the last boss in Meager Tourist, right? You want to do is you want to hop in there for a quick second to get that damage buff, because it's going to help you break through her shield. So you'll see a whole lot of absorb, 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 and eventually she'll get out. Once you break that shield, she'll get out of the tree phase or plant phase and come right back into human phase. And then you can keep DPSing the boss, and it's a rinse and repeat after that. Stay out of AoE, and pretty easy for mage, right? Just use all your single target DPS uh, spells. And generally, what I like to do is I'm going to put up a video too my rotation. But I start out with Kindle into Incineration into Fire Explosion, swap tactics, go to Ice Flame, Fireball, Fire Explosion, and use Ice Flame, Lightning Arrow, Blade Storm, and spec back or change tactic backs to go to Fire Eruption, uh, Fireball, Fire Explosion, and then rinse and repeat. All right, I'm gonna let the rest of the fight play out so you guys can see it. All right, guys. So here we are at the third boss of the instance. So as you see, the first thing you want to do is have the tank pull the boss as far away as possible tank him by the entrance so that he has the maximum amount of distance that he needs to run to go charge up at the crystals that's behind us right now. So every 20% HP, he's going to run across the room to the crystals that are behind us, and he's going to do a 10-second channel to gain a buff. And the first three crystals, they give either damage or increased defense, or I don't know what the third one does, and the fourth one makes him spam a lot of AoEs, right? So um, Oh, and third one's like reflect damage or something like that. So the two abilities that he does is he's got a cleave in front, so he does a double AoE around him. That one shots. He does a lot of he does an AoE around him as well, circular AoE. So it's just for melee to get out of. Right there's a cleave right there. He also does an ability where there's a whole lot of AoEs in the room, a lot of circles, and then there's always going to be safe zones. So just go stand in your safe zone and avoid that. It's pretty straightforward. And he also summons four ads, which you see right here. Generally, if your DPS is high enough, sometimes you can get away with not getting the ads. But if you get the ads, so these ads, unlike the first boss, they do hit pretty hard. So if you're a mage, and generally we're the first ones to get on these ads, because your ranger is usually lollygagging and your berserker's got to run over there, right? So it's easy for your mage to get on those ads really fast. So sometimes, man, if you rock your immunity skill on your non-chain ability skill, prefer to use it because sometimes, if you're not uh, that geared, you don't have a lot of hit points. They do hit a lot. They do hurt a lot. So especially when you have four of them beating on you. So if you're a mage, just be aware you're the first one that's going to be hitting them. You're the first one that's going to do aggro too. And if you have all four of them on you, you might die. So pop your immunity. Um, that's about it, just DPS all the way through. Just once he starts running towards the crystals, just keep going with your chain. Just switch off the boss and start getting as much damage as you can on those crystals. Because you want to burn through those crystals as fast. So every time you kill a crystal, the remaining crystals get more HP, so it gets harder and harder and harder. That's why we never even kill the fourth crystal. All we do is we just avoid the AoE because he doesn't get a damage or uh, uh, increased defense. So we can just, hit DPS through it. Um, Other than that, pretty straightforward. Just DPS hard. To your left, Wiggle.
Is that good for you guys?
Yeah.
Going for the crystal.
We did get that crystal in time, right? Because I'm only hitting him for 8 damage.
Well, yeah, he's absorbing right now because he's trying to
Whoa.
absorb the crystal.
Right now he's absorbing.
Woo!
Yeah, we did get that crystal.
All right.
All right, so here we are, guys, on the fourth and final boss of the instance. So a lot of abilities, lot of abilities. The first one you just saw her cast is a small circle AoE on random party members that deal a lot of damage and applies a dot. So it'll also leave a lingering AoE. So one thing you know about this is that the actual effect of that AoE is bigger than the graphic. So when you move out of it, don't just step a little bit away from it. Step a good amount of distance, at least like 2 meters away from it, because the damage effect is bigger than the actual graphic you see on the ground. Um, Next is she will cast small AoE around her that will one-shot you, so get around, get a melee, get out of the boss. She will do a room-wide AoE. When she does this room-wide AoE, she will also give you a small little stun for a quick second, and then she's going to spawn a bubble. She's doing it right here. So generally what I try to do, what you should be doing is getting towards the middle of the room, because that golden bubble can only spawn in two different places, right? One is in front of her, where you see it right now, or one is directly behind her. So what you want to do is you want to get in that bubble because she'll start single targeting people and you're doing like a one-shot ranged ability hit on them. So you want to get inside that bubble as fast as possible. So mages can blink, obviously. Um, so I just tend to get towards the middle of the bubble and save my blink only for when I need mana. I don't try to blink unnecessarily on this boss fight because it is pretty long and you want to conserve your mana as much as possible. So second thing is after 50%, she will spawn two mirror images of herself that also cast her same skills. So that means that there's going to be a lot more AoEs coming to the ground. She'll also spawn these skeletons that will explode on impact after a few seconds. It looks like it's a 2-second delay. So there's a lot of different abilities being cast. So that's when you want to pop your DPS cooldowns and burn those images as soon as possible. Here they are right here. We always target the left one first. So whatever your party wants to do, just make sure you call it out before, which image to DPS. And after 30%, she's going to spawn 3 orbs. You just DPS down the orbs and then you get on the boss. Um, if not, she's going to cast this AoE that basically will one-shot your party or two-shot your party. So um, that's it. That's pretty much it. I mean, the most important thing now as a mage is look at your feet, avoid the AoEs on the ground. When you see the skeletons coming, it's a good idea to kind of like have them explode rather than you coming up to having them come up to you. So you can just like run in and out of them real quick to start their explosion, so you don't die of those AoE explosions, especially if she's casting her room-wide AoE and their skeletons at the same time. So when the room-wide AoE is going off, you're gonna get stunned. You don't want to get stunned and that skeleton come up to you and then explode, which I'm sure it's happened to a lot of us. So you kind of run towards that skeleton when that room-wide AoE is going off, let him start casting, and then you get out of that AoE circle before he explodes and before you get stunned. That's pretty much what I got from Mage Tips. Hope you guys enjoyed this walkthrough and the Mage perspective. If you got any questions, just throw some comments in the section below. Other than that, good luck, guys, and good luck on the drops. I'll let the fight play out for the rest of the duration. Take care. Good luck.
No bubble. Barry, go and start silencing. Don't stop silencing.
Good job.
Nice.